Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. The Mach 1 finally was revealed. Last week we actually talked about the spy shots, and then just like that, it came along and showed the world what it was supposed to look like, or it's going to look like. And a lot of people in the car community had a lot of things to say, but there was two people in particular that I was really curious to hear their thoughts about the new Mach 1. And this is because they both owned Mach 1s or own a Mach 1. So today we're going to be remotely hanging out with my buddies CJ and Alex, and we're going to be going through and breaking down the brand new 2021 Mach 1 and what our thoughts are. I think it's going to get a little roasty in here, so be prepared. So let's get on that call and let's do it. Okay, I'm here with Mr. Alex and Mr. CJ. CJ, we go way back to 2012.
Yep.
Because you had a Grabber Blue Mustang, I had a Grabber Blue Mustang, and everybody got us confused. But now you have a New Edge Mach 1.
I do. I definitely do. And to be honest, it's one of the cars that I've wanted ever since I was in high school when I first saw them. And it was just something about, especially like the azure blue color, that really speaks to me, especially because like I own a Grabber Blue Mustang, and it's similar, but it's not the same, obviously. But when you see that car and you see that specific color, because it was a Mach 1 specific color, it was something that caught your eye. And not only that, you saw like the shaker hood, you saw the difference, like the 5-spoke wheels as well. Like it was something that when you saw it rolling by, it was unmistakably a Mach 1. It was something that, you know, was completely different, and it was a moniker. It was a car that you could actually like say, wow, that is something different. It's not a Cobra, but it was its own unique style.
And Alex here, what's your experience with the Mach 1? Plus, you have sold Mustangs in the past too, haven't you?
Yeah, so I had a Mach 1 as my second Mustang. So I had a Competition Orange 04. So similar to CJ, I had a car that was kind of a unique color, and it really stuck out at you when you saw it drive down the road. Before that, I had just a regular GT, and now I have a 5.0. But for me, the Mach 1 is something that resembles, just when I think of a Mustang, I think of Shelby's, Boss's, Mach 1s. I don't think of the regular ones usually, not that they're insignificant. It's just traditional muscle car to me, something that sticks out. It's loud, you notice it's different.
This is CJ's Mach 1.
Oh.
Yeah, and it looks awesome, and you spared no expense. And I think my favorite photo though is this one. You're a little excited there, and you're like, I got a Mach 1. Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, my wife actually took that photo of me in it, so it was pretty awesome. She was
you have a. Sorry to interrupt you. I apologize. You have a 99 to 01 bumper, don't you? Cobra bumper?
I do. I have a 99 to 01 Cobra bumper. That's the latest addition to the car. So not all of them will have it in there, but that is the last mod that I did to it.
Yeah, because yours just has that aftermarket feel to it that the early 2000s just did not have.
Yeah.
You know, like, without being super tacky, you know, like it's just super, super clean and simple. I love this photo. And you've also, of course, done great photos of, this is your old car, a little bit of Mach 1 influence there too.
It was heavily influenced by Mach 1. Actually.
Oh, who carded that on Mach 1?
Oh, what?
Anyway. What that? Oh my God. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is I have tabs open of the brand new Mach 1, and we're going to talk about it in an in-depth breakdown way of why we feel the way we feel. Sound good?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Oh yeah. No, but you know, it can be constructive. It's fine. Okay. So here's just generic Google image of Mach 1. So here's the spy shot I talked about the other day, right?
Yep.
And it's basically almost more aggressive than what we got, which is funny. You know, like if you look at the grill and everything, it kind of looks like it's going to be much more mean.
Right.
And when you take away the camo, you get this. And when you And when you sent this photo to me, CJ,
Yeah.
I literally was like, "Oh, nice GT."
I thought it was a
100%.
refresh. I thought, honestly, when I saw that, I thought it was a refresh of the GT. Like, I thought it was a performance pack car.
It literally looks like a performance pack car, and I just can't do the like orange/red stripe. I can't do it. It's just not a big fan of it.
I know that they're trying to do something different with it,
But like, I get this right here, but the thing is, it looks like it's off center.
It is.
You know, it's just like bleh, it comes right off the side.
Yep. It's going with the body lines, but the way the car sits too is it's got a higher rear end in comparison to the front
does.
Gap. So I don't know.
It looks better in this blue for sure, but I'm just not a fan of these retro wheels they got going on. Here's driving.ca, whoever's website, I'm sorry. But like, look at these wheels, dude. Like, they're just kind of boring 5-spokes, you know?
They look like the Foose design black 5-spoke wheels that are just the silver or the polished lip with the black wheels. And that's something that, I don't know, the 5-spoke design could have been a lot more unique in that. I don't know, the whole car could have been a lot more unique, honestly.
Yeah. Well, that's where we go into, you know, we go into here and look, I just typed in Ford Mach 1 on YouTube. That's it. And look, everyone's like, is it really going to be? There's never like, is it going to be the ultimate track Mustang? Everybody has a little bit of doubts, except Ford here, of course. But another thing I wanted to bring up was I went on Ford's website and give me a second. Mach-E, we all kind of thought that this was the Mach, like they're just not going to make another one. And I think we kind of all kind of accepted that. We were like, okay, you know what? That's the Mach 1 now. Whatever. We'll move on. At least they didn't just rebadge something. And then I go to the next tab. Oh, wait. Let's talk about the Bullet compared to the Mach 1. If you go to the local inventory or anything, build and price, 480. Mach 1's what, 485? 5 horsepower.
I believe it's on par with it.
Yeah, it's the same.
Okay, there you go. It's the same. So we have the same starting at $47,000.
Yep.
47 grand. I mean, you're getting
that's a lot for a Mustang. I mean, you have to really think about that. These are supposed to be blue-collared cars, but you're at the pecking price of a Corvette. I mean, really, you're right alongside with it. And then on top of that, you know, dealerships are going to be adding these markups where they're going to be adding that $5,000 tack-on fee. It doesn't match up because even in 2001 when they actually had it, they used a 2-valve GT motor with a different intake manifold. And then the Mach 1 had a 4-valve motor that was a Frankenstein motor with 5.4 valve or 5.4 liter cams in it. And it was a completely reworked motor. Manuals had a forged crank. The engines were a different compression ratio. It was a completely different motor. Excuse the rooster, he's pissed off. He'd be a Mach fan. But like, I love those cars. My favorite body style was 69 and 70 Mach 1s. Like, those by far were amazing. And that's one thing that I understand. Like, I understand that it doesn't have a shaker, and it not having a shaker isn't like a complete and utter
deal breaker.
Yeah, it's not a deal breaker for me. However, when they go into what they did for the styling on this, it isn't there. And then on top of that, you're going to put a regular 5.0 into this when they had, you know, all the leaks about having 525 horsepower.
Yeah, that rumor is gone. Like, it's crazy to me because I was like literally going like, okay, you know what? If it's going to be the Coyote motor and it's going to be 500 horsepower, that's impressive. That is impressive because, you know, we thought, you know, with the GT350, the flat plane crank, revving up that high, that's why it made over 500 because it could just keep spinning. The thing, though, about this was I think everybody was really starting to be like, you know what? I get it. I get that you have to save money sometimes. But the thing is the fact that it's literally the same as the Bullet, but it has the Tremec trans. I will
Yeah.
say that's great, but let's put that aside, right? Let's talk about the actual car. Like the actual car itself, I feel like just didn't live up to that name because first, it wasn't in development that long.
No.
You know, like here's the thing. Usually a new iteration of car, the GT500 has been under development how long, CJ? I mean, years.
Years. I mean,
Years.
we had a GT500 since the S197
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
And it was in production for so long that they're using the 15 through 17 headlights. That should tell you something.
Yeah, because they were working on it then. Like they're always working on it.
Or the 18 iteration where they changed the bumpers. So it was delayed and delayed and delayed because they were trying to get those numbers output. And I know that they were battling with Chevy because Chevy came out with their LT5 motor.
Right.
And that was like the big, hey, we've got 650 horsepower. What do you have for it? And then Dodge came out with their Demon. And it's like, you know, hey, what are you guys going to do?
Okay, so we actually, I think we said earlier, we lost Alex because his internet went down, unfortunately. So we're waiting on him to come back. But we just want to talk about, you have the Shelby GT350, one of the best cars Ford has ever made. But you should not get rid of such a unique car when you're replacing it with a car that it's literally to the masses, or at least the car enthusiast community, an S550 with bolt-ons on it. Like, that's how they feel about it. I mean, think about this, right? VMP and I, we did that ported intake manifold. We did the JLT cold air through a 10-speed and made basically 460 wheel horsepower on pump gas. That's probably around 480 to 500 crank, right? It's insanity to me that they're just ditching this gem of a car for this. It's insane to me.
Which is smart from a sales standpoint, I assume. And the only thing that makes me upset is that the GT350 is no longer. It's starting to get phased out. And now you have all these parts laying around, right? So now when we're going ahead and thinking about like, hey, Ford, what are we going to do with all these parts? I've got a great idea. Let's stick it on a 5.0 and call it a Mach 1.
Yeah.
And then you have the GT500 rear spoiler. You have the GT500 rear valence. You have like all the suspension. You have cooling. You have the Tremec transmission, which is a great transmission. They should be put that in every 5.0. And I love that about it. I love the fact that it's a track-oriented car. However, it is not a Mach 1. When you look at Ford's track history cars, you have the Boss 302, which was the last before the GT350. That was a completely different car. That had completely different, well, not completely different for suspension, but it had reworked suspension. It had a lot of the things that was done to what the Mach 1 is now, but it had its own motor. It had the Roadrunner motor that revved higher, had different internals. It was more of a hodgepodge motor, which is what the Mach 1 should have been.
Right.
And I would have been okay with it. There he is.
Hey. Sorry about that. My internet got zucked.
Oh my God. Got zoinked. Alex, we were going to talk about before you got cut out your dealership experience in selling Mustangs. And now that you've owned a Mach 1 and sold Mustangs, what do you think what do you think the audience is for this car? Since the Bullet was for older audiences and not anybody younger, nobody really knew about the Steve McQueen stuff. Who do you think this is for? Because I think we were playing Xbox the other night. You're like, boom.
Each car was different, right? So we sold Roushes, we sold regular Mustangs, a bunch of Shelbys. Roushes were oftentimes younger, middle-aged people. Maybe they didn't know as much about Mustang heritage, right? Then you had people of all kinds. Everybody loved the Shelbys, and then just general people love Mustangs. I think with Mach 1s, that the new Mach 1, it's going to be very similar to the Bullet. So just a quick backstory. A couple months ago, I was talking to a friend of mine about upgrading to a GT350. And when I was talking to him, the whole conversation was, basically around how their new Bullets, they can't sell them. Nobody wants them. Nobody knows what they are. they were advertising them for $50,000 or $52,000, whatever. And they were having to cut like 10 grand off of them just to sell them. And it's a cool car, right? Don't get me wrong. It's a pretty car. It's got a heritage to it. But the younger people just didn't know what it was. They're like, oh, it's that cool green Mustang, and why is it $52,000?
For real.
Most people, when they go to the dealership, the eye candy is the GT350 or the GT500. So I worry that this new car, while I think it looks good, I don't think they've done enough to make it stand out from the Bullet. So, that's just me. Like I said, when I sold Mustangs, I sold plenty of Roushes, but they just weren't as popular as the Boss 302s, the GT500s, and things of that sort.
I mean, it's kind of been that thing. Like, even if you can't afford it, you dream and you go to the Ford dealership and you go look at the Shelbys. That was always like the thing. Like, never in my youth ever did I go, I want to go look at a pine green British Racing Green Mustang. That's the one. That's the dream car. And if you look at the Mach 1, to the untrained eye, like, it's giving us a hard time believing it's something different. Now imagine the masses who aren't into cars. Like, they're going to be literally like, oh, that's a nice one. I like the orange stripe on it. It looks nice. And that's it. And they won't know the difference about the motor because, one, CJ pointed out the motor's barely different anyway. And along with that, look, I am hoping that thing destroys our expectations. The GT350 was so impressive because it was naturally aspirated and it had so much power. But now it's like what you missed when you were gone, Alex, is me and CJ said, how long was that GT500 in development? Years. This Mach 1, no way. I don't believe for a second that it's been over 2 years. There's no way.
Yeah, that's good that you brought that up because they've been working on the new 2020 GT500, I believe, since 2015. And the reason why I know that is because when I was working at the Ford dealership, I was actually talking to the Roush guy. And he came down and we were just chatting about inventory and whatnot. And he said, wait till you hear about the new GT500 motor. And I was like, and at the time they were talking about what they were going to do in terms of aspiration. Like, were they going to, go with twin turbo? What were they, different things like that. Yeah. And, he said, just wait till you hear about it. Like, it's super cool. Right. So they've been working on that for years. And I think that that car is incredible, but most people can't afford that. Right. Most people, I can't go drop 90 grand on a Mustang. So
especially with a dealer markup, right? I mean, it's supposed to be 70, which is Viper territory. It's like, or used Viper territory. You can get like a Gen 5 for 75 grand.
Well, even 50 grand. You can buy a very lightly used GT350 for 50 grand. Yeah. So I think for me, like, with my experience being there and around the people that like those cars and the consumer base, when the Boss 302 came out, it was unique because it was school bus yellow. There was a Laguna Seca that didn't have a back seat. There was, quad exhaust. Of course, the Mach 1 has that, but there was different components in the motor, upgraded oil cooling and all that stuff. They called it the hypo motor, which just meant high performance. It was the new 5.0 motor before the new 5.0 motor came out.
Right.
So that car is just different. Then the GT350 came out, and it just captivated everybody, right? The motor was completely different. It's nothing we'd ever seen before. The Tremec transmission, which I am happy that they're bringing that to this car.
Absolutely.
But, I just think it's just missing a couple of things. And whether that's the hood scoop, I don't think that would fix it completely.
550 with a shaker would look kind of strange, too.
Exactly.
That's my opinion.
I think that if they did anything with a shaker, they would have to widen out the profile of it and lower it as well. Yeah. Because it is a wider car. Like, it's actually a lot wider than the SN95. And that hood, but the thing is the shaker dimensions haven't changed over time. If they changed shaker dimensions, it would have been a different story. that a lot of people keep on putting the CDC shaker hood on, S550s and say, look, it doesn't look good. Well, you keep forgetting that R&D is a thing, and they can actually go ahead and make a wider, lower profile. And granted, it wouldn't do anything for power, but you know what? When I turn my car on, I love the look of it. I love how whenever I turn my car on, I see the shaker hood rumble and then shake as well. Yes, it's tacky to a certain degree, but I love it. I don't care.
I feel like the Mach 1 needs a sense of tackiness, though. Yeah. Like, it's one of those things where if you're going to be different, just own it. Like it just doesn't. I mean, look, we have it up right here. We're kind of, no pun intended, being a dead horse here. But you're welcome. You're welcome. But you look at this car and you go, let's look at the bumper, right? It has a little bit of GT350 fang here. You can see it, but it's just not enough to be like this looks like it's two lips they zip tied together. Like
it looks like the GT lip that's added onto another
because this looks like GT500 with that aero package you could do where it could go all the way up to here on the fender.
Yeah.
And then and don't get me wrong, like if you're gonna have fog lights, make it actually have fog lights. I don't know.
So
they're capped off too, right?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
like
the thing is
same
sorry,
hood too. No, you're fine. It's just the same hood too, man. Like CJ said.
Yeah. So like another thing that I was going to mention, when I first saw this car, like CJ thought it was a GT. I get a ton of Roush and Foose vibes from it, kind of like what CJ said.
Yeah, I could see Foose in it for sure. I could totally see that.
So I just, like I said, I think it needs something different. And granted, this is the new color, right? The fighter jet gray.
Right.
But where they might have, possibly messed up is not showing those louder, brighter colors. Like they're going to do grabber yellow.
This blue is beautiful. Like it's looks super good. I'm slurring. I'm sorry, but like, see, look, it has like a nice pearl in it. It has kind of a turquoise through it when the sun hits it. Like Ford has always had pretty neat colors, pretty bodacious colors, and for some reason when they unveil cars, they never really show those. Like it's always like the more mundane ones. And but who knows? Who knows where it's going to go from here? And I'm rooting for them. I want it to work out, but Ford's a very different company than it was 3 years ago. Like not even 3 years ago. I mean, the Fiestas are gone, Focuses are gone. All those fun, I call it the Renaissance of Ford. All those fun performance cars that turned their brand around in the enthusiast mind. I mean, people who had Evos and STIs were buying Focus RSs. Like that would have never happened 10 years ago. Yeah. And I feel like they just shot themselves in the foot. It
feels fresh.
It's crazy to see how good they can be with the GT350 and stuff like that in the 500. And then it's just like, here's a sticker. And it's like, no, like don't do that.
So I think that it is a great car. I think that honestly, it is a great idea to have a 5.0 track capable Mustang that has a proper transmission in it. It could have had a DCT, yes, but having a 10-speed is also a good option. All the coolers, every addition to it that makes it a track capable car, I'm 100% behind it. I'm a track guy. I absolutely love it. However, some things that I wish Ford would think about is putting in a dry sump. If you're going to go full track car, put in a dry sump into the 5.0.
Yeah.
That's the thing that Chevy has done for quite a while. I've owned a Z51 with a dry sump, and I've never had to worry about high-speed turns, oil consumption, none of that stuff. Yes, it's a little bit pricey and everything like that, but if you're going to have a track-capable car, that's the next possible step that you could take to make it an actual performance fighting car. And then I wish they wouldn't have used the Mach 1 name. It doesn't deserve the moniker. This would be a great refresh for the 5.0.
Just period. Just leave it alone. Like just a refresh.
Yeah, it would have been a great how they changed it from 11 and 12 to 13 and 14. The bumper looks great. The transmission would have been great. The oil coolers would have been great. I don't know why the Mach 1 has two separate styles.
We'll close with that. You should not have two Mach 1s. Like, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I don't know what the pricing is going to be. Is that Laguna Seca styled Mach 1 going to be so much more? Because the Bullet is already at 50 grand. And is the oil coolers only going to come on that track capable one with the wider tires and everything like that? There's a lot of questions that I have for this car, and mostly I just wish that they would have gone a different route.
Alex, anything left to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all have similar thoughts, but for me, I like the way the car looks, honestly, even if we just take away the Mach 1 thing from it. I think it looks great. I'm happy that, they're trying to do what they can to bring a track car to a more affordable price point. I mean, GT350Rs are $65,000. GT350s brand new are, 60 grand. So I appreciate that. I know that when the Laguna Seca Boss came out, I think the price point was 52 grand.
Insane. Back then, that's so much money.
It was a lot of money. I think at first they'll be expensive, but my hope is that the price will come down a little bit over time. I think as someone who's had a Mach 1 and is looking at getting another Mustang, this car I don't think we're going to look back and say this is another, 0304 Terminator, Boss 302, a 70 Mach 1, a real groundbreaking, influential Mustang. It's just,
no.
I don't think it's got that. And that's just my thoughts. Maybe it doesn't need to be, but
I think it should be, but I guess we're asking a lot, but it's like what I said at the end of my Mach 1 video last weekend. I said, am I being nitpicky? Yeah, because I'm a car enthusiast.
Yeah.
We just are. We just are. And at the end of the day, that's okay. But,
sure, yeah.
If we're the ones spending the money, man, it's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta, this will be like the last thing we'll say is just, if you're gonna make something new and different, at least don't pretend that your car that isn't new and different is new and different. I know that sounds really weird to say when I say it in a sentence, but don't pretend the car is something it's not. Because you come out saying it's the Mach 1, it's revolutionizing the coyote, but people who know about the Bullet, it's the dirty secret now. It's game over. That's it for a lot of enthusiasts. But other than that, thank you guys so much for joining me. That was awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And on that note, go to outro. So those were our thoughts of the 2021 Mach 1. What do you guys think about it now that it has been unveiled? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you think about what CJ and Alex said? Love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. And on that note, I upload every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I will see you guys next time, and take it easy. Have a wonderful day. This video is brought to you by Patterson Car Care. Get double the premium detail product for half the price. Head over to PattersonCarCare.com or go to the link in the description below.